it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again with another exciting news video. Already a news video up today that Ross did earlier on. Check that out if you want to catch up with all of the early news. Now we have some more news stories to talk about, so without any further ado, let's get into those headlines. First of all, there are fears that a recently drafted Raw Superstar is being buried. Next up, we take a look at further details revealed about the upcoming Vince McMahon Netflix documentary, which is planned for sometime in the future. And finally, we take a look at reports that a massive indie wrestling star was supposed to debut at NXT Halloween Havoc. So first of all, let's talk about this apparent burial which happened last night on Monday Night Raw, or the beginning of maybe a burial. It's not looking promising, so if you're a fan of Tucker, maybe look away now. I feel really bad for Tucker because as part of Heavy Machinery, when they were in the tag division, I found him very entertaining. Obviously, Otis was the standout guy. He was the comedic one. He was the one that all the fans got behind. He had the caterpillar move. Now he looks to be the one as well, branching out into singles stardom. But as part of that tag team, I felt like Tucker was really good too. I especially remember the tag team elimination chamber match where Tucker was like the most impressive wrestler in that match in terms of performance. So, you know, I do feel bad for him, but let's take a look at what happened last night. So Tucker, of course, recently cost Otis his Money in the Bank briefcase. He lost that to The Miz after Tucker interfered in the match, hitting Otis with the briefcase, and then giving an interview later on where he explained that Otis has been stealing the limelight from him and, you know, he's been taking every opportunity, despite all the things that Tucker has done for him. And he's got a bit of a point, really. So because of that, and then because obviously a now heel Tucker was then drafted to Raw away from Otis, it seemed like maybe a push was in the works, but I mean, it's not looking too promising. So last night, Tucker was given a slightly new look, long pants with Tucker on the back, rather than the shorter trunks he was wearing as part of Heavy Machinery. He was given a jobber entrance, basically. He was already in the ring awaiting his opponent, which isn't the best look. And then he lost the match clean as a whistle to Ricochet, who again, I mean, losing to Ricochet, there's no shame in that, but Ricochet hasn't exactly been setting Raw on fire, has he, in terms of wins and losses? But, you know, it might not have been that bad, and then, you know, more was to come. After losing to Ricochet in pretty short order, he was then beaten down by Retribution as well, so he's been beaten up by a babyface and a group of heels in the same show, and, you know, it's not looking great. There was a brief rumour a little while ago that there was maybe a mix-up in WWE, maybe he'd been accidentally drafted to Raw and was going to be drafted back to SmackDown to have a feud with Otis, which would make the most sense, surely, and would probably benefit, well, certainly Tucker out of the pair of them, but it looks like that's not going to happen. So it's very, very weird, and I have to ask, why on earth WWE have done this? Why have they not at least given it a shot? Because I know not a lot of people were optimistic for Tucker because everyone was looking at a future when Otis would be on his own, and they always thought, you know, Tucker's going to be the Jannetty, for lack of a better term, of the tag team. But why not at least try? You know, you never know what might happen. He's got this momentum off the heel turn, and now it looks like they've stopped that momentum dead. Next up, let's take a look at this upcoming Vince McMahon Netflix documentary, which is apparently going to be a very big budget affair, very spectacular, I suppose. WWE are going to be involved as well, and it's basically going to be a Netflix series all about Vince McMahon. Stephanie McMahon was recently talking to Barstool Sports CEO Erica Nardini on her podcast and revealed some extra details. First of all, Steph said that she's excited about the project but is understandably nervous about it because it's about her father. You would be, wouldn't you? And that's just if you got a normal dad. Her dad's Vince McMahon. Stephanie also revealed that the docuseries will be in 4 parts. She didn't say how long each part was going to be. I would guess maybe an hour. Maybe we're going to get 4-hour-long episodes on Vince McMahon. Even if it was 4 half-hour-long episodes, that's still quite an extensive documentary. That's 2 hours in total, all about Vince. WWE President Nick Khan gave the news during last Thursday's quarterly financial call, claiming that it's one of the most expensive docu-series that Netflix, who are massive by the way, have ever done. So it's going to be very intriguing to see. I'm not just excited to see what they do or what the content of the docu-series actually is, but I'm going to be excited to see what the presentation of Vince is, whether or not they really critique him where he should be criticized, or whether they'll just make it a bit more of a glowing, positive series of films. I suspect it's more likely going to be the latter because WWE are involved, they're openly promoting it, and I doubt they would if this presentation, this portrayal of Vince was going to be even slightly a negative one. Maybe there'll be some little aspects like he's a really great guy, a bit weird, but he's a great guy. I feel like that might be the tone and I'm not sure how to feel about it. But then for a look at the murkier side of wrestling, of course, Vice's Dark Side of the Ring Season 3 is very much in the works. So, there's going to be plenty of content out there, no matter which side of the divide you lie upon. Next up, let's take a look at the news that basically a top independent, probably one of the most prominent independent wrestlers, certainly in Western wrestling today, was meant to debut NXT Halloween Havoc, but obviously never did. This is via Alex McCarthy of Talk Wrestling, who explained that basically Thunder Rosa was supposed to debut in NXT at the end of Halloween Havoc, presumably calling out Io Shirai. This is huge, huge news. Thunder Rosa's been kind of dominating the headlines a little bit recently because of her status. She lost the NWA Women's Championship, of course, to Serena Deeb, and there were conflicting reports about where Thunder Rosa was going to go. Billy Corgan of the NWA said that, well, as far as we know, she's still contracted here and things are going to progress as usual. Apparently AEW were also expecting things to continue as they had been, with Thunder Rosa nominally being a NWA star, but occasionally appearing in AEW as well. She'd been very good for them, of course, in that little feud with Hikaru Shida, for example. Had a great match with Serena Deeb as well, not the title match, a separate one on Dynamite. But then there were also reports that WWE were interested too. Thunder Rosa was quite openly kind of playing with us regarding these various reports, teasing all three promotions as her next destination on social media. So Alex McCarthy said, here's a little bit of a scoop, kind of. PW Insider did say that there was somebody who was meant to debut at the end of Halloween Havoc, and they were meant to point to Io Shirai and kind of point to the next challenger for the NXT title. He means make themselves the challenger and announce themselves as the next challenger for the NXT Women's Championship. But Alex McCarthy's gone one step further than the PW Insider report and says, where we're at the moment is that I've done some digging around, and apparently it's Thunder Rosa. She's the woman who is going to make her debut as soon as the COVID restrictions that she's possibly found herself in have been lifted. He goes on to explain and elaborate a little bit further, saying they didn't want to take the risk at Halloween Havoc because of where she's been. I assume he means wrestling for AEW, and also the event where she lost the NWA Women's Championship to Serena Deeb. That, I think, was an indie event somewhere, so maybe she's got to quarantine for 2 weeks as a precaution. I don't really know. He doesn't really go into specifics there, but it's still quite a lot of information. So he goes on to say, when all of this is settled, Thunder Rosa will apparently be making the next step to the yellow and black brand. If that is true, and if WWE have picked up Thunder Rosa, I mean, that's only them further strengthening what is already a very strong NXT women's division. I guess a lot of AEW fans, especially those who are quite critical of the fact that AEW needs to present its women's division in a stronger way, were probably quite excited for the prospect of Thunder Rosa becoming a permanent AEW star. Because of course she'd already impressed massively in a short time there, but now it seems like WWE may have swooped in and may be picking her up to work in NXT. This all makes, if this is true, this all makes for a very busy NXT women's division. We've got Io Shirai as the champion, of course. We've got Candice LeRae, who she's just beaten, of course, as well. But Candice is always in the mix. She's very versatile, very good at what she does. We've also got Toni Storm announcing her return and seemingly gunning for that title as well. And Ember Moon as well, also doing the same. If Thunder Rosa is thrown into the mix as well, we could be looking at some kind of massive multi-woman stipulation match down the line. And finally, let's talk about one of the more interesting stories on SmackDown at the moment. Not the Roman Reigns one. That is kind of dominating everything, and rightly so, because it's brilliant. But we're going to talk a little bit about Big E. So Big E was recently speaking to Sport Bible about a number of different things, including Roman Reigns. He said what Roman, has been doing with the Tribal Chief stuff is pretty incredible, and he's been killing it. I think if your goal isn't to be at the very top, to be a world champion, if you're a singles guy, then what are you doing here? So obviously, that is on the list as well, implying there that Big E is potentially eyeing a future match with Roman Reigns. Now, I really do wonder if this is the case. I mean, this could be, this could be pretty huge. Big E, I think, he's kind of been lost in the shuffle a little bit. Obviously, the New Day leaving him and everything, that was kind of big. But I think, if you remember before everything kicked off and Roman turned heel and all that was going down, you remember Big E was being eyed up as the next big singles star of SmackDown. I think they haven't forgotten that plan. I think it's just being slightly put on hold. I would expect a big showing from Big E at Survivor Series. So Big E is eyeing this potential future match with Roman Reigns. That could well happen at some point. Could it even happen at WrestleMania? Because Big E, I think, currently is probably considered one of the favourites to win the Men's Royal Rumble in January. If that were to happen, then I think we're looking at potentially a massive storyline heading into WrestleMania with a babyface Big E taking on a heel Roman Reigns. Of course, there are many other people that Roman Reigns could realistically face. One of them being Dwayne The Rock, I mean, WWE must have put out feelers to Dwayne, right? Because Roman's been saying, I'm the head of the family, blah, blah, blah. What if one of his relatives comes along and it's The Rock? And then, you know, that all goes down. But if things are a little bit more grounded, a little bit more normal, I can see Big E as a viable contender for that title 100%. And there in that interview with Sport Bible, although not saying anything sort of in concrete terms, Big E is kind of implying there that he is gunning for Roman Reigns and he does have his eye on that Universal Championship. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching this video. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. Stay safe out there, of course. Stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.